be in the space of pure impersonal perception. Notice the effortlessness of being. Notice the effortlessness of perceiving. Notice the effortlessness by which the five senses register and receive the exterior world. Notice that you are not creating any of this. You are not imagining any of this. You are not making any of this happen. You are not causing yourself to be. You are not causing the world to arise. You are not required as a player in the phenomenal game for it to occur. Another way of saying it is try to make yourself not be. Try to make this moment go away. Try to become not aware. All that is happening, all that is arising, all that is being experienced is spontaneously occurring. On its own. the screen of consciousness, or the blank mind field, has many nuanced layers. We can use an analogy of a movie screen or of a pond reflecting back objects. But in actuality, the mind, the screen, on which everything is projected, even right now in your awareness, is multi-dimensional, multi-layered. So from the place of impersonal or transpersonal, beyond the I, perception, where beingness itself is spontaneously occurring. Out of this no-self place, in order for it to know itself, in order for it to see itself, it must project a part of itself onto the screen of consciousness, onto the mind field. And receive its own reflection back. But in order to maintain its own source, it cannot project onto the screen its entirety, but only a piece, only a fragment, only a part. So notice on the first closest layer of the screen is projected something called I. Something called a self. And you can observe this I. Or a more precise way of saying it is this I, this self, is being observed, is being perceived from a deeper place than I altogether. But what is the experience of I? Even ultimate I, before I am a person, before I am a human, before I am upset, before I am an ego, before I am a woman, before I am an American, is simply I. Simultaneously perceive this I from an impersonal space, where it's just spontaneously, effortlessly arising. At the same time as impersonally perceiving it, put on the cloak of an I. Feel the form of an I. Even ultimate I has a shape, has boundary, is something. So keeping impersonal perception of an I and wearing the cloak of an I, maintain each of these layers in awareness, and notice that for this I to know itself, for this I to see itself, it must project part of itself onto another nuanced layer of the screen in front of it. But in order for it to maintain its essence, its existence, it cannot project all of it. It projects a fragment. Do this now in your own experience. As the I, which is beyond gender, beyond race, beyond species, beyond color, beyond religion, beyond nationality, beyond Enneagram type, beyond astrological sign. It gets projected onto the screen and now has characteristics. This is the layer that we are conditioned to identify with and as. I am this body. I am this kind of body. I am this person. I am this kind of person. So still, from the impersonal space, there is projected on the screen and reflected back to know itself a transcendent I. And then projected on the next screen and reflected back to the transcendent I is a personal I, a specific kind of I. a further contraction. And then, for this personal I, because it cannot see itself, it is the source and subject of its own relative experience. It must project an aspect, a fragment, a piece, a part, onto yet another nuanced layer of the screen of consciousness in front of it. This is the layer where our typical definition and understanding of projection lies. So as you can see, the entire manifest world is a projection on the screen, including I, in the most basic sense. It starts to feel more personal as you drop down, but still the entire thing is being held up by an effortless, spontaneous, impersonal projection. And all of it is being reflected back to that source. Jesus says, I am the light of the world. He also says to his disciples, you are the light of the world. Depending on which layer you're identified with, or depending on which stage of consciousness you are interpreting through, this can have many different meanings. If when you hear you are the light of the world, you are identified as a personal, individual self, that exists in a world that is outside of you, it can still be a positive pointer. That means you can bring light to others around you. You can be a light in dark times. You can shine your light for others to see and receive. But from the deepest place, what Jesus is pointing to is that source light that gives light and life and reality to the entire world. You as that, or you beyond you, is the light of the world. And this light fractalizes all the way through each layer on the screen, all the way down to the darkest projection and reflection And darkest just means refracted that many times from the source light. Dimmest, most shadowy. And that's the layer where we typically speak of psychological projection. So from this individual, personal I, in order for it to know itself, in order for it to see itself, whatever unresolved issues, fears, trauma, samskara, wounding, patterning, separation, sin, not to mention that the ego lives in there somewhere as well and doesn't want this I to see itself. So as a grace, as a gift, as kind of a way out of the puzzle, a way out of the maze from within the maze, a way out of the hall of mirrors from within the hall of mirrors, eventually the dropping down and contracting and contracting and projecting stops at the last reflection. There is some mechanism, because everything that's arising is arising in your awareness, or everything that's arising is arising in the awareness of the one doing the perceiving at whatever layer. Then what you see in the exterior world is finally a reflection of something unresolved in that individual personal self, or at whatever layer the projection is coming from. If you see fear in others because others are arising in your awareness, where is the fear arising? Still, the feeling of fear, the reflection of fear is happening in you. If you see or perceive suffering in others because others are arising in your awareness, the experience, the reflection, the feeling of suffering is arising in you. The suffering is in you. The fear is in you. Fill in the blank with any other. Even positive reflections, positive attributes. But particularly, this is kind of part 2 of my pointings from last week about the madness happening in the world. And I've been pointing hard at the ultimate, the absolute, for some weeks now. It is not a good idea to forget that there still is a relative experience, that there still is a projection and a reflection onto part of the screen that is from an individual self. These are the nuts and bolts for how to work with that. What you see that has a charge, what you feel that brings up something more than just neutrality, is in you. So it's not just visual, physical perception. Oh, well, I see humans, I see a flower, I see a tree, I see cars. Yes, but what are you really seeing? Are you seeing beauty? Are you seeing turmoil? Are you seeing a world going to hell in a handbasket? And this is not here now to apply the opposite from the rooted in place of fear to try to convince yourself otherwise. Now is the time to re-own, acknowledge, allow, fully embrace, take back the projection, clean the lens. Yes, I have been perceiving suffering. Yes, I have been perceiving separation. Yes, I have been perceiving fear. But the key being I perceiving that. The key being I on that level of the screen and the source of that seeing. It is arising nowhere else. That's also why these koans that I utilize work in ultimate and relative terms. They're intended for the ultimate, but only that which is arising in my awareness. There is nothing arising outside of my awareness. Can still be seen from the layer of the relative individual self. Because that which is arising in my awareness as a relative individual self is, again, more refracted, more condensed, dimmer, objectified, beneath, below, less than, however you conceive it, in front of me. This is where the relative work really matters. This is where the psycho-spiritual work really hits home, rubber meets the road in your day-to-day experience, especially with what's occurring in the world. Ask yourself, what am I seeing? What kind of world am I seeing? The root of that seeing is in your psyche. Your persona, body, mind, psyche, self, as something unresolved, that as a grace is being given to you to see. Because you can't look at yourself. You have to see it reflected. So what have you been seeing this week, these past couple of weeks? How have you been seeing? What do you perceive others to be? How do you perceive others to be? Anything on the screen. And to put the source of that seeing over there with them is a dyslexia, is an untruth. The source is with you, at whatever layer you is arising from. So it's not just enough to be in the impersonal, effortless, spontaneous place. That place, in fact, never goes anywhere. It is the source, the foundation, the ground of all of this journey that we've just taken. Rather than transcend and include, it's kind of a descend and include. Descend into these depths of self and projection, reflection, but include the impersonal. Don't forget the spontaneity, the effortlessness of being. That still you are not making this happen. Still it is just arising. Including the delusion that you are making it happen. Is just arising. So the question always comes back to, where are you? Who are you? In a totality sense, you are all of that. That is all of you. Plus the layer where there is no you at all. But I want you to be very mindful, and this is also in response to what has occurred with some people in the group in recent days and weeks, for how to work with projection. It's all a projection. Which layer is the projection happening? To what kind of self is the projection happening? And how to reclaim those fragments? It's as simple as reclaiming them. It's as simple as saying, oh, I'm the source of that. That's not the source of that. I'm the source of that projection and reflection. I am. And then taking back the projection of an individual self altogether from a more transpersonal self is as simple as saying, oh, I'm projecting that individual self from a deeper place. Oh, I am the light of that world. Oh, I am the source of that which I see. All the way back to the 0 point. But the cleanup work, the nitty-gritty, the shadow work, the psychological projection work is very, very, very important. It's the land, it's the realm of emotions, of stories, of belief systems, of how you see other people, of how you relate with that final step down of the exterior world. It's your personal history being shown on the screen in front of you so that you can see yourself. so that you may be healed. And all that's required is saying what St. Paul said, I am the worst of sinners. The evil in the world begins with me. Don't interpret that religiously, dogmatically, magic mystically, but it's returning to the proper source. I am projecting that. I am interpreting that. Pure reflection into a distortion. I am doing that. The brilliant, miraculous paradox is, at the back of it all, the light of the light of the light of the world, you are not doing anything. You are not even there. The sense of you in the first place was a projection for the impersonal to see itself as a self. So how to do the cleanup work? What emotions are you seeing? What suffering are you seeing? What patterns are you seeing around you? And simply return the source to yourself rather than out there, rather than over there. Where is the interpretation happening? Where is the commentary happening? Not in them, not over there, but right here directly. I am doing that. And you're not doing this for any other reason but healing, freedom, and reorienting the source of experiencing. Not so that anything on the screen in front of you changes in a certain way. Because as each piece is reclaimed, what's happening in front of it on its screen, on its most immediate screen, no longer matters. The identity, the source, the origination, the root, the light of the world in front of it is prioritized and transforms the whole world. You are the light of the world, and the world will not walk in darkness because of you. You will no longer see distorted images. And your world arising in your awareness, which is all there is anyway, is transformed. Amen.